I just remember telling them, I'm ready to dance. I'm so happy and I feel as light as a feather. And then I went into labor. And I could not believe it. I was only 28 weeks along. How could I be going into labor? But Carla was born. So Carla came into this world very early. I was asking Jesus not to get her out. I was like, no, please. But it happened. And the hardest part for me was that as soon as she was born, they did an X-ray on her, and what they saw brought them back to the ward, and they just looked at me and they said, are you ready to go and see the X-rays? And I'm thinking, why am I not going to see the baby? And Carla's bones had holes in them from her head to her toes, just holes. And they said she's very, very swollen. She has a lot of fluid in her. And so we are, going to dehydrate her. And we are in the process of, we've put her on morphine because we know that that's an inflammation of some sort. So your baby must be going through a lot of pain. So, So the best thing for you now that you can do now is, have something to drink, and we'll let you go and see her when she's a little bit more settled. And when I went to see my baby, I looked and I wondered if she was fully formed. She was under 2 pounds. She was really swollen, but she didn't look like she had a lot of her normal, she didn't look fully developed. And I just said, will she ever be normal? And they said, oh yeah, she will be normal. And Carla was on a table like a specimen, when you go to a lab, and she was on that table, never had a blanket on her. I could not hold her, did not hold my baby for more than a month. And she went through a lot of procedures, They did a lot of they needed a lot of samples. They didn't know what was wrong with her, so they had to send samples all over the world, even South Africa and North America. So the samples were in the US in different states, and the samples were going to Africa in different countries. They were going to the UK, and it took them about almost 2 weeks before they had a conference with us to tell us what was wrong with Carla. And Carla had a very rare condition called Caffey's syndrome. And the reason they didn't know what it was because it had never been in their hospital or in Canada. This was the first case in Canada. And the way it presents itself is once the baby gets Caffey's syndrome, they cannot survive. So they die in utero and are born within the first 6 months, stillborn. And this was 6 months. 28 weeks is a 6-month point of the pregnancy. And Carla was born, and they thought she wouldn't live for more than 6 weeks after she was